My high school years were anything but ordinary. While most students were focused on grades, homework, and social cliques, my attention was spread differently. About 20% of my energy went toward traditional academics, another 20% toward hobbies and personal pursuits, but a commanding 60% was devoted to Demolay International. This youth leadership organization, rooted in Masonic traditions, became the defining force of my adolescence. Demolay instilled in me the values of character, leadership, and civic responsibility. It wasn't just an extracurricular activity, it was a way of life that shaped my friendships, gave me purpose, and provided me with the tools I would carry well into adulthood. Joining Founded in 1919 in Kansas City, Missouri, Demolay International is named after Jacques Demolay, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar. His martyrdom and steadfast integrity continues to inspire the organization's values today, drawing from the legacy of the medieval Templars, who were protectors of the Christian pilgrimage and defenders of principle. The organization cultivates seven core virtues in young men: filial love, reverence, courtesy, comradeship, fidelity, cleanliness, and patriotism. Each value serves as a compass in my development, pushing me to become not just a better student, but a better person. The Knights Templar, a medieval military order established in the 12th century, rose to prominence by protecting Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. Their discipline, loyalty, and unwavering commitment to service made them a formidable force in Europe, amassing both influence and wealth. Their legacy endures throughout organizations like Demolay International, which draws inspiration from the personage of Jacques Demolay's unwavering integrity, his devotion to his principles, even in the face of persecution. The fraternity teaches seven core virtues: filial love, reverence, courtesy, comradeship, fidelity, cleanliness, and patriotism, helping young men develop leadership responsibilities and ethical decision making. For me, Demolay wasn't just an organization, it was a transformative force that shaped my values, my friendships, and leadership skills. Throughout my involvement, I embraced those seven core virtues and took on responsibilities that prepared me for challenges far, far beyond high school. The lessons I learned and the honors I earned within Demolay became defining milestones in my journey. This Demolay crest serves as a powerful symbol depicting the core values of the order. There are many symbolic elements within the crest, but for now, I'll leave them to speak for themselves. What matters most is the meanings behind these symbols and how they shaped the way I approached leadership, friendships, and how they impacted my personal growth. As mentioned previously, much of my high school experience was shaped by my involvement in Demolay. The time and dedication I invested were reflected in the 13 merit badges I earned, each representing a different aspect of my journey within the organization. For civic service, a badge earned through contributions to the community, reinforcing the Demolay commitment to making a difference beyond his own life. Ritual, 4 badges, recognizing my dedication to mastering and performing Demolay's ceremonies and traditions, a key component of leadership within the fraternity. Merit, 2 badges, acknowledging personal accomplishments and contributions, reflecting the hard work and dedication I poured into Demolay's values. My 2 bars were for holding and the posts of senior counselor and junior counselor. My next post would be master counselor, but I opted to sign up for my active duty in the Navy instead. There are 2 badges for athletics, demonstrating teamwork, discipline, and physical engagement, improving that leadership isn't just intellectual, but also involves perseverance. I was on the baseball team and basketball team for 2 years. Visitation, a badge earned through outreach, strength, strengthening connections between my own chapter and fostering brotherhood across different communities. Then the badge for religion, honoring respect for sacred traditions and moral integrity, reinforcing the spiritual aspect of character development. I was a choir member and acolyte in the St. John's Episcopal Cathedral for at least 8 years and probably more. Then the merit badge for attendance, marking consistency and commitment, showcasing the dedication to staying actively involved in the fraternity. This merit badge was earned for 1 year's perfect attendance, a formidable feat for a very active teenager. Lastly was patrol, a reflection of responsibility and leadership within the organization, showing my ability to guide and support others in their journey. One of the most defining aspects of my time in Demolay was my involvement in the organization's ritual work, where I earned the 4 ritual merit bars for excellence in my portrayal of the trial and martyrdom of Jacques Demolay, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar. Portraying Jacques Demolay himself, a role that demanded both acting and speaking prowess, was the longest and most complex part in the play. It carried immense weight, embodying the values of loyalty, sacrifice, and unwavering commitments to one's principles. Through the dramatization of Demolay's final moments, I deepened my own understanding of the organization's mission and developed confidence, stage presence, and the ability to convey profound emotion, skills that have extended far beyond Demolay and into my everyday life. Each time I stepped onto the stage, the weight of honoring Jacques Demolay felt more profound. Delivering his powerful lines wasn't just a performance, it was an immersion into the ideals of perseverance and leadership. His unwavering commitment to his principles resonated deeply, shaping how I faced challenges in high school and influencing the way I navigate adversity even now. This experience became more than theater. It was an education in character, resilience, and the strength to stand by one's convictions regardless of the cost. This picture is rare, inasmuch as the inside of a Demolay temple is rarely allowed. While this is not an actual photo of my chapter, still it's reflective of the one I attended. Our chapters typically met twice a month at the Scottish Rite temple known as the Consistory. Our membership ranged from around 60 to 75 young men, not including chapter dads who were master masons. Our regular meetings, usually held bi-weekly for business and planning. Then there were social events like formal balls with tuxedos, boutonnieres, and corsages. Rainbow girls and Job's daughters would often participate with us. Then there were fundraisers, community services, and special ceremonies. Every chapter meeting would start with a guard at the door who would greet every visitor with a secret handshake and hear the Demolay password, then give every member the word of the day. When all members were seated, each member would then approach each officer, preceptors, master inquisitors, orators, and master counselor, demonstrate the Demolay handshake, and recite the word of the day. The chaplain would offer the Demolay prayer, and then the meeting would open. This building, located at 18th and Sherman Streets in Denver, was the meeting place of our chapter. It was the home of the Scottish Rite Temple, an arm of the Masons, and served the other organizations under the same auspices of the Masonic organization. The temple was also home to the Job Daughters, Rainbow Girls, Eastern Star, as well as Freemasons and Shriners. Between these groups, one might say there was always a lot cooking. As a consequence, within the family groups, there was no shortage of opportunities for social gathering, which for most teenage boys, that meant girls. That alone worked to the advantage for Demolay boys because as soon as it became known at school a boy was a Demolay, he became a magnet for girls. The fall of 2016, I became a member of the United States Naval Reserve that met at the Denver Federal Center. My best friends, Bill Johnson and Jay Higgins, joined me for the swearing-in ceremony. The training offered there was substantial, and we were invited to attend what they called advanced training, which in essence was 10 weeks of boot camp in May 1957. This experience is described at my website under Memoirs. Graduation from basic training in July of 1957. Now back to high school. 16, driver's license, wheels, power, dates, judgment. Of the preceding 7 words, is there one that just seems a little out of place? I think so. The maroon 48 Ford glistened in the back of my father's auto repair shop. Whenever possible, sitting in the driver's seat, playing with the leather-lined steering wheel, pressing the clutch, moving the shifting lever through the gears, and fantasizing about a real trip would be at least a good thing to happen in an afternoon. That chrome-formed emblem on the hood always called out for breath and a rub with a clean cloth, just to keep it glistening. But starting that car every now and then, just to keep it in shape, of course, and reveling over the deep, throaty rumble sound of the magnificent flathead V8 engine would even be the best. The for sale sign had a $600 asking price. I had only $150 in the bank, a calculated $450 deficit. Owning the car would remain just a fantasy. Oh well. This routine went on for most of the summer of employment with Dad. Thankfully, Dad was not good at marketing. Otherwise, the car would have surely been sold, and all the dreaming and fantasizing would be for naught. Dad definitely was not ready for another car or driver in the family, and wanting to put off the inevitable as long as possible, he made it very clear that any loan for a car was out of the question. But fate was about to intervene with a series of unlikely events that would bring the foregoing fantasizing into reality. Dad asked me to go with him to a Delco Remy battery sales rally held at Mammoth Gardens in Denver, where, unbeknownst to him, a door prize of a 17-inch floor model black and white TV would be awarded to his son as the lucky ticket holder. And as it turned out, my brother's best friend, Bro, and his new wife, Peggy, were temporarily staying at the house while looking for an apartment. Having a need for a TV, Bro bought it for enough to buy the car and pay for insurance. Owning the car was no longer a fantasy. To this day, I can see Dad shaking his head in dismay and muttering to himself as the reality set in that indeed there was another car and driver in the family. The 48 Ford brought with it more dates. It was never too clear whether the attraction was boy, car, or boy with car. One of the dates was Mary. Mary was very Italian, with a Roman nose and a definite Italian temperament. She was very smart, very pretty, witty, and quite vociferous. With Mary, there was some kind of link connecting her vocal cords with her hands, because if you really wanted her attention, the secret was to hold her hands, which of course was delightful, but without them, she simply could not talk. Dating Mary was never dull, but it provided some consternation as well. Charlie, the drugstore owner, and Dad were good friends, and Dad hung out at the drugstore a lot when he wasn't working. With their familiarity, it wasn't very long before Dad knew Mary was working for Charlie and found out from Charlie that Mary was the daughter of a well-known mafia pin. It was rumored that the mafia used ball bats for reinforcement and lined the bottom of Stone Lake with bodies. When Dad became aware that his son was dating the daughter of a mafia kingpin, there was no words adequate to describe his consternation, so he must have invented the term going ballistic. This described his temperament and went for it. Mary's parents were like any other parent. They lived in a normal house, maybe a little more upscale, but they were very interested in the boy dating their daughter. They both were warm and cordial. From Mary's perspective, her father was a professional person with a complete separation between his professional life and personal life of father and husband. On dates, Mary never discussed her father's professional life, and I was far more interested in Mary. Fortunately for Dad, the relationship only lasted a few months, and it broke off amicably. It seemed that our religion and culture were just not compatible. More than likely, Mary's parents had a similar discussion with Mary. Mary, in many ways, was a learning experience. For example, apparently there's a same link connecting Italian vocal cords with car horns. If it would figure, since the horn is an extension of the hand. According to Mary, you honk when people in front are in the way. You honk in every situation. If you want them to know you're there, you honk. If angry, by all means honk. If happy, well, why not? It is this teaching that impacted what happened next. On an overcast winter day, when snow covered Louisiana Street on the west side of Denver, a group of 15 or so kids, ranging from about 4 or 5 to 10 to 12, were using it for sledding. At that point, Louisiana Street sloped precipitously enough to make for great sledding. The kids were over the crest so as to be invisible to eastbound traffic on Louisiana Street until cresting the hill. I was driving my maroon 1948 Ford at the crest of the hill when the group came into view. It seemed to me they were having a great time. Some were sledding down the hill on sleds, some in inner tubes, and some on pieces of cardboard. Most were giggling and laughing. Some were building snowmen beside the road, and some were having a snowball fight. I had just turned 16 years old, had the driver's license, the wheels, the power, and the horn that I used as I learned from an Italian lady. Was it to warn the kids of my approach or let them know I had the power? To this day, this is still a mystery, but at any rate, most of the kids were not impressed. In fact, they viewed the 48 Ford and the driver with great disdain. How dare you interrupt our playtime on this wintry day, I'm sure they thought. Just who do you think you are, anyway? Then, let's show this guy in the Ford he doesn't frighten us. I'll stick my tongue out at him, thought one, and he did. I will bend over and wiggle my fanny at him, thought another, and he did so also. Well, I won't be outdone by you, said still another. I will make a face at him. Yep, he did that too. Let's just stand here and block his way, is what someone must have said, as that's what they did. So the car started creeping past them when one of the kids presented his middle finger and snowballs began hitting the 48 Ford. That does it, I thought. Now they're damaging my pride and joy. As the 48 Ford gained a little speed, I saw a cardboard box about 2 feet square and maybe 3 feet high in the gutter along the right side of the road. Aha, I thought, now's my chance to get even. As I began turning the leather lined steering wheel to the right, I heard a voice behind me. Nah, you're too old to let a bunch of kids get to you. And I straightened the car out and pointed that Ford's emblem straight down the hill. As I looked back at the box, passing in my rearview mirror, I saw a little child with black pants, blue winter coat, a red stocking cap, and white scarf open the lid of the box and climb out. Unbelievable. As I mentioned earlier, the remaining 20% was spent on various extracurricular hobbies: tennis, bicycling, skiing, hunting, putting together model ships like the Mighty Mo, building model airplanes, fishing, reading, chemistry, and of course, Highlanders with my baritone horn. And I should tell you about the jobs that I held while in high school: Gordon's Garage, Dad's Auto Shop, United Tool and Material, Watch and Clock Jobber, Rocky Mountain News, Paper Route, Rummel Hearts Printing, Printer's Devil, Moordale Resort in Bailey, Colorado, Ritz Movie Theater on South Broadway, Usher and Concessions. Thank you for allowing me to reminisce about some of the highlights of 4 years of high school. What I didn't tell you was all the friends I had on the piers of Washington Park Lake while fishing, or the trips down the drainage ditch of the park on an air mattress, or about the fascinating people I met as I was shagging golf balls in City Park. Nor did I mention riding my bicycle all over Denver and Morrison and Aurora, or the fun I had talking with the scientists at the Denver Fire Clay where I purchased lab equipment and chemicals. Nor did I mention my friends Lou Greenlee, Alex Stacy, or Jerry Cunningham, or Jack Oliver, who fought with me when we were accosted by bullies, Dick Schlund, Narcisco Davalos, and Ray Bryson. Nor did I mention my favorite Demolay dad, whose famous quote was from Shakespeare: "Unto thine own self be true, and it follows thou shalt be false to no man." In other words, tell yourself the truth, always.